And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the 12th expansion. Yes, the 12th expansion for Dominion, Renaissance. Now, I have to say, I love Dominion. And when Dominion had its first expansion, Intrigue, I thought that was a really great expansion. And then the next two expansions, Prosperity and Seaside, were amazing. They're still my two favorite expansions from that set, even though they did put Alchemy in there, which is one of my least favorite. But as time went by, the expansions added complexity. They added things. The last expansion, usually I've kept some cards from each of the expansions in my big Dominion set. I didn't keep anything from the last expansion. I thought it was overwhelmingly convoluted. It added an extra phase. So this one I was kind of ambivalent about. I wasn't really expecting anything fantastic from it. But I saw some of the cards. They looked kind of interesting. So, of course, I'm always going to try out the new expansions because I really do like Dominion. Let's see where this expansion lands. At the beginning of the game, each player will get one of these boards if you're using any cards that have coffers or villagers on them. Coffers have already shown up in Dominion. They were called coins before. But basically, if you get coins or coffers, you'll just put these little coin tokens on one or the other. So here I have one coffer and one villager. And then you discard one of the coins off coffers to get an extra money that you can spend on a turn, and you can discard one off villagers to get an extra action. So these are basically money and actions that you can store from turn to turn. There's a lot of cards that will give these to you. For example here, the Silk Merchant, which is +2 cards, +1 buy, and when you gain this or trash it, you get a coffers and a villager. Here we have Spices, which is a simple card, which is a little treasure, 2, and it gives you an extra buy. But when you gain it, you get 2 coffers. That's true. This is quite a good card. The Sculptor here, gain a card in your hand, costing up to 4. And if it's a treasure, you get a villager. This Reaction card here gives you a villager and 2 coins. Or 2 money you can spend on your turn, and if something makes you reveal it, if someone ever attacks you, you get a coffer. So that's kind of a neat reaction card. I like it because it's a very useful regular card in and of itself. Another treasure here that just gives you a coffers and a buy, but when you buy it, you can get rid of a copper. This is essentially better than a copper because it gives you the extra buy, and if you don't want to use the coin, you can save it from turn to turn. Recruiter here, you can trash a card from your hand. Getting villagers equal to its cost. It's a nice way to get rid of those initial 2 cost cards that you have in your hand and get some extra villagers for them, actions over the course of a game. This one here is a one-time use, 4 villagers and then trash it. It's interesting. I mean, that way you can kind of save your actions for when you need them. And here's the Lackeys, which gives you +2 cards, but when you gain it, get 2 villagers on the spot. So that's kind of the main focus of this set, but there are a lot of cards in this set that are simply just regular normal cards that you would see, or cards that you would have seen from previous sets. So here we have, for example, a cargo ship. This is called a duration card because it will stay out till the next turn. And basically, once this turn, when you gain a card, you set it aside. At the start of your next turn, put it in your hand, and it gives you 2 money. So it's not like this card is amazing or anything, but I like it a lot. Here, this is +2 cards, +1 action. But when you use it, it goes away. But when you buy it, you get 2 of them. So that's kind of a neat thing to get. For 3, you get 2 cards. You can use them 1 time each. Not necessarily a bad thing. Then they're automatically out of your deck. I don't know. Is that worth it? It feels like it is. A villain, there's not a lot of attack cards in this set. In fact, I think this is the only one. Oh, no, there's 2 of them, actually. But there's villain here. Everyone else, it gives you 2 coffers. And everyone else with 5 or more cards in their hand discards 1 that costs 2 or more. The Seer is a card in action, and then you reveal the top 3 cards, and all the 2 to 4 costs go in your hand, and the rest go back in any order. The Scholar is an interesting one. It's like a redo card. Get rid of your whole hand and then draw 7 more cards. I don't know how useful that is in all situations, but getting 7 cards is not a bad thing. The Scepter, which may possibly be my favorite normal card in this set, when you play it, you get +2, or you can play an action card you played this turn that's still in play. So it's like a throne room, but it also can give you 2 money, which I think makes it better than the throne room because, you know, sometimes you get the throne room, you get no other action card. If that happens here, you still get 2 money. I think the Scepter might move up into my top 10 Dominion cards of all time. Here's an old witch, kind of like the normal witch where everyone gets a curse, but they can also get rid of a curse from their hand. So it's not quite as useful as a witch in the attack purpose, but hey, who cares? It gives you 3 cards. Here's another duration card where you can trash a card from your hand, and for each money that it costs, you can set cards aside from your deck, and at the start of your next turn, put those cards in your hand. That's pretty cool, but because it lets someone go through their deck, it can slightly slow down the game. You want to trash cards, the priest will let you do that. It gives you 2, and then you let you trash 1 card, and any other card you trash for whatever reason, you get extra money for. It wouldn't be a Dominion set without a village. Here we got the Mountain Village, which gives you 2 actions. Go through your discard pile and put a card from it in your hand, and if you can't, plus 1 card. So it's plus 2 actions, plus 1 card, or plus 2 actions and plus any card. Yeah, I like the Mountain Village a lot. Here it gives you a card that costs up to 4, and then all your cards cost 1 less. The Inventor's great. Hideout, trash a card from your hand. If it's a victory card, gain a curse. So, you know, you can't get rid of those cheap victory cards, but it's still plus 1 card, plus 2 actions, regardless. And then Improve, which lets you trash an action card to discard from player this turn to gain a card costing 1 more than it, and it's 2 money. So they kind of mixed a few cards that were already in there or added different variations to them. There's also some cards that have artifacts attached with them. So for example here, the Treasure. Treasure gives you 3. Then you can trash a treasure from your hand, gain a treasure from the trash hand, or take the key. Well, what is the key? The key is an artifact that you put out here, and whoever is the last person to play this gets the key, and you get a coin at the beginning of every turn. Now that's crazy awesome. That means if I play the treasure early on in the game, I have this until someone else gets a treasure. So people are going to be forced to maybe want to get this treasure because this is pretty awesome. The only negative thing about this situation is if you get a 5-2, which means you get 5 copper in your first turn, and you get this on your very first turn, it kind of gives you a leg up because it's going to take maybe people a few turns to get that 5 back and buy this, and you can get maybe a little bit ahead there. I don't really think that's that big of a deal, but just realize that that exists. Another artifact that's in the set is the Flag Bearer here, who comes with the flag. Same thing. When you gain or trash it, so only when you buy it or trash it, you get the flag, and you draw an extra card every turn. Again, that's really awesome. You want to see awesome though? We have the Swashbuckler. So the Swashbuckler here gives you 3 cards. If you have any discard cards in your pile, you get a coffer. And then if you have 4 coffer tokens, you take the treasure chest, which gives you a gold at the beginning of every buy phase. What? That's amazing. But it takes a while to pull that one off, unlike the other ones which happen right away. And then finally the Border Guard comes with 2. The Lantern and the Key. The Border Card lets you reveal the top 2 cards, put one in your hand, discard the other, and if they're both action cards for whatever reason, you get one. You can take one of these. This one gives you a coin. I'm sorry, that's the Key. The Horn, sorry. Once per turn, when you discard a Border Guard from play, you can put it in your deck, so it lets you play the Border Guards faster. And here your Border Guards reveal 3 cards and discard 2. But it takes all 3 actions to take the Horn. So you don't get too powerful with these. The Border Guard is probably my least interesting of these because it's slightly the most complicated. It's not that powerful, but it is cheap. So it is another artifact. All right. Well, now there's also projects in this game. So what project, you can just shuffle them into your randomizer and you pull them out. The rules say you should never play with more than 2 projects, and I agree. When a project's out there on your turn, you can buy it. So you just pay the cost, and then you put a cube of your color. So the game's going to come with cubes of your color. And you basically have that special ability for the rest of the game. So here at the Cathedral, you're required to trash a card from your hand, which sounds great. But you can go watch a live play I did of this, and you can see that kind of can come back to bite you if you're not careful. Here, the first time you get an action card each of your turns, you can set it aside. If you do, play it. So some of them are going to be cooler than others, and that's, the cost. Well, at the start of my turn, I can discard a victory card for plus 2 cards. Not trash, discard. That's neat. Gives me an extra action every turn. Here at the end of my buy phase, I can pay 1 to get a coffer, basically save a coin from turn to turn. Here I get a card at the beginning of my turn and then put a card from my hand onto my deck. Whenever someone else gets a victory card, I draw a card. Here, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an action, play it. When I trash a card, I get to trash another card from my hand. I can trash double cards. When I gain a treasure, I get a coffer. There's an extra round of turns just for players who have the fleet. So the game's over, and like, wait, everyone has a fleet, gets one final turn. When I get an action card, I get a villager. This is an extra buy every turn. That's very simple, but very useful. I can add a token here at the beginning of my turn, or pull the tokens off to get one card each. That could be really cool. If you don't buy any cards, get a coffer and a villager. Not as useful, because if you've ever played Dominion, you buy a card almost every turn. And I can't see that a coffer and villager is that fantastic. Discard coppers and redraw them, so that's interesting. When you shuffle, pick a card to go on top. Notice that one will slightly slow the game down. Actions with money amounts are also treasures, which could be very useful depending on the combinations with other cards. And then some really big, awesome ones. All your cards cost one less with the canal. That's awesome. And then my favorite one by a mile, the Citadel. Whenever you play an action card, you get to play it twice. The first one that you play each turn. That's neat. Really cool. So as with all the sets, it comes here with its own tray to keep all the cards in. Although it tells you to keep the coins in here, which seems like a really bad idea. I'm not going to be doing that. I don't keep these normally anyway, but it does exist. These cards are interesting, the projects that they tell you to mix with the randomizer cards, but then don't give them blue backs. I don't really understand that, but whatever. These are pretty useful, giving them each player. They work really well, and it's really easy to tell what's where. And then these coin tokens, this is not the first time that Dominion has used these tokens. These are great. If they sold these like in mass, I would want to buy them for many of my games. I like them. They're small, they're light, they're easy to move around. These are great. And then, of course, the game comes with cubes now. Yay, cubes in Dominion. The quality of the cards is meh at best. Sorry, Dominion does not really put out quality cards. Artwork is, it's what it is. And so, yeah, whatever. Well, hooray and huzzah and all kinds of good things. This expansion is great. I mean, this is what I want Dominion to be. Give me something new, maybe, right? Something, and here they took a concept that was already introduced in a small expansion in the past, the coins, although now they call them coffers, which isn't confusing at all. But, taking that and then giving you the actions, this is a very simple thing. It's easy to do. If one of these shows up in the game, let's say one card with coffers or one card with villagers shows up, very simple to add in the game, no complexity at all. You could play this with new people who've never played the game before, and you could throw these cards in. Even it uses some cards that we've seen before, like durations and things like that. Again, they're not complicated. There's a few cards in here which I think are not as interesting as the rest, but many of the cards in here, like I point out, some of them are going to my top 10 cards of all time, and all of them are good, useful cards. Renaissance has the coffers and the villagers are great. I use them all the time. I also like the projects. I was concerned because we already have all this weird stuff, these extra cards that come out, but projects are not so complicated. They're just a special ability. Some of them are more interesting than others, but it's just neat to be able, you could just play with one project, right? It's one special ability. Am I going to waste my turn getting it? But I can have it for the rest of the game. Like, for example, that one I showed you, Citadels. That's an interesting one because it costs 8. You can buy a province for 8. Is it worth giving up a province to be able to double play your action cards for the rest of the game? Hint, yes! But wow, some really fun ideas and thoughts, and it doesn't add that much complexity. This is my probably third favorite expansion from the set. Easily. Maybe second. I don't like it as much as Prosperity. Prosperity is still my favorite. But Seaside, which I like a lot, this one I like too. I like that there's just a couple action attack cards, and they're not that big of a deal because we don't really. I found that most people aren't huge fans of the attack cards. The coffers and the villagers, everyone loves them because it allows you to save cards from turn to turn or money, and actions, and that's just it gives you these alternate things that you can do. And the projects are good. Like everything in this set is good. There's nothing here where I go, I'll use that in another game. So, this is like a return to roots for Dominion. This expansion could have been released years ago. No more complicated ruins and all these weird, and a night phase and all that stuff. Just simple, get extra stuff that you can save from turn to turn. I like it a lot. So bring on the 13th expansion maybe, but for now, this is one I would highly recommend if you like Dominion at all. Definitely check out Renaissance. Dice Tower judgment. Excellent.